Hello everyone and welcome to a week of Linux news for the 4th of June 2017. I'm recording this episode a few days early because by the time you watch it, I will be in California, in America. And I'll tell you what, I will not be amused if I have to empty my pockets, take off my shoes and strip naked in order to enter the country. Yes, will not be happy at all if that happens. So now that's horrifying images in your mind, let me give you some amusing news. Starting with this story from Nixcraft, there is a bug in Sudo that allows a user with privileges to execute commands via Sudo. They could use the flaw to escalate their privileges to root. I know I'm going to struggle to read this story with a straight face, aren't I? So yes, this privilege escalation that allows anyone to exploit a vulnerability with getProcessTTY name. So via the Linux terminal, you could use it to gain root privileges, but only if you're a user in the sudoers file. And this vulnerability was rated as 7.8 out of 10 on the CVSS score. But do you have to be logged in as the user? I've not been able to establish this one. Or can you just pass the command as a different user? Well, if you had to log in, then presumably you know the password. In which case you know the password to gain root privileges, i.e. using the sudo command. So this is not really going to be an issue for the average home user, but it could be an issue in the enterprise environment. So here's a list of the affected Linux distros. The patch has already been released, so just apply your system updates. KDE Plasma 5.10 has been released, and I did do a little bit of a video, and I know a couple of you have pointed out it was not a very good video really. Yes, perhaps I agree, I was getting a bit fed up with the sound of a jet turbine next to my head. My new computer, which I've not been able to get a new cooler in it just yet, so I'm using this awful, hideous, cheap cooler that's completely inadequate, so I've gone back to using my old system for the time being. So at least I have peace and serenity here. So just a brief rundown here of what we have. So folder view by default, media controls on the lock screen, the ability to install applications via krunner, so that is Alt and F2, and I did miss this one out in the video, which is annoying because I wrote it down in my notes. So if I was to type in handbrake, then it will allow me the option of getting handbrake from the software center. And the audio volume indicator, well I didn't get this one quite right either, but it's that menu on the right hand side which allows you to mute and change to a different output. So I do apologise for that video. I was going to remake it today, but I'm kind of running out of time. So it's got improved touchscreen support, so that's touchscreen on the login screen. This feature I could not find was a Plymouth boot screen selection within the K-Control module. So I think I do need to do a reinstall at some point. Moving along, there is improvements to the Gnome integration for Qt-based applications in Flatpak. So these will be Qt applications running in the Gnome environment. And one of the main disadvantages has been on the icon side. The overall presentation really, because seeing a poor presentation can really destroy the user experience. So this is the improvement that's being carried out, is with additional theming within the Adwaita Qt style icons. So these are the commands that you'll need to install the improved themes for Adwaita. The Ubuntu 17.10 Wallpaper contest has begun, and you can submit your applications for decent photographs or images to the team via Flickr. Bodhi Linux 4.2.0 has been released. Now, why am I so interested in this? Yes, because this is the first release that they are dropping the 32-bit PAE disks. So there will no longer be a 32-bit ISO file. So this is another Linux distribution that has gone down this route. Two others that I can think of the top of my head are Arch Linux and KDE Neon, which are only 64-bit. So if you're still using the 32-bit version, you will continue to receive updates. And if you want the 32-bit version, you will have to download an older ISO file and update it. So Bodhi Linux uses the Moksha desktop, which is a fork of the Enlightenment version 17, I think, and is based on Ubuntu 16.04, long-term support release. A very fast, responsive and colourful distribution, and it's a surprise that they've opted to remove the 32 bits, because it would make quite a good distro for older machines. A story that I did miss last week that someone pointed out, that Devuan version 1 was released. Now, I don't really care about this because I see it as more of a split within the community, but Devuan is Debian without systemd. causing more forking and failing to move with the times in Linux, so it uses init instead of systemd. I know there are advantages and disadvantages to using systemd, and the one thing that does annoy people is the binary output of the logs. So yes, in an enterprise environment, it could be quite annoying. For a home user, I couldn't tell you what the difference is. From the register, Windows XP crashed too much to spread WannaCry. The blue screen of death has become a useful feature. So the reasons for the blue screen of death was from the underlying double pulsar exploit, which was to create a backdoor into machines. This was not the initial Eternal Blue exploit or the encryption of the hard drive, it was the secondary exploit. So here's the short version. Windows XP with Service Pack 2 had no infections. XP with Service Pack 3 had a random blue screen of death but no infection. Windows 7 with Service Pack 1 infected after multiple attempts, and Server 2008 could not replicate infection but reported exploited. No mention of Windows 7 without Service Pack 1, because when I messed around with it in Linux, I could not get Windows 7 to become exploited, and I did that without a Service Pack on there, so I was literally missing out most of the updates. Which is an interesting theory, because then we're saying if you don't update your software, then you're immune from exploits. Yeah, don't take that too literally. I do believe you're actually better off doing system updates. Just because you're immune to one exploit doesn't mean you're immune to all exploits. From OMG Ubuntu, Kodi is now available as a Snap application. I've had a lot of trouble getting my home theatre PC upgraded to 1604, so I'm actually still running an older 1404 based system. Well, it's still supported, so why not? So I wonder if Kodi will still be able to take advantage of post-processing on a graphics card via the Snap-based install. I know sandboxing is carried out, but that just means it will not be able to interface with our other applications, so surely the hardware interfaces should be perfectly fine. So some known limitations of it: you can't browse anything within the system outside of the Kodi Snap folder. But you can access NFS partitions and I suppose presumably SSH. Maybe I'll give it a go at some point. Ars Technica have written a guide on how to build your own VPN, if you're rightfully wary of commercial options. I'm not going to go through this article, I just wanted to point this one out in case anyone was interested, but they're using OpenVPN. If I scroll down, so yeah, OpenVPN on Ubuntu. So yeah, it's some Linux news. And if you fancy going through it, then you have your option of building your own VPN. From Make Tech Easier, 5 of the best image editing applications for Linux. Wait a minute, are there that many? I mean decent image editors, I don't mean basic image editors like MT Paint. So we have GIMP, there's a surprise. Krita, yes I know of that one, find it a bit confusing. Although I think Krita can actually do a bit more than GIMP can, so dunno. Inkscape, not technically an image editor, more of an image creator. They do actually state that Inkscape is a powerful vector graphics tool that's excellent for creating digital graphics and logos. I'm just being awkward on terminology there, aren't I? Raw Therapy, not one I'm familiar with, created for photographers working with raw images. Okay. And Darktable, not one I've ever used. What's this? Darktable also features GPU acceleration. Well, that's got to be a bloody good plus, isn't it? Because Inkscape certainly doesn't. In fact, Inkscape is single core, unless they've changed it in some very recent versions, but certainly if you do a lot of effects on one image, it becomes quite slow. And finally, for this week's stupid news, thieves in Everett, Washington accidentally set fire to the cash in an ATM machine whilst they were trying to use a blowtorch to gain access to the cash box. Gee, wonder what happens when you put a very hot flame next to a paper object. Nah, that'll be fine. And in a later article they state that the men tried peeing on the fire in order to extinguish it. Yeah, that'll go well, won't it? So the Everett Police Department issued the surveillance photos and video of the suspects. Police said the suspects are Eli Steen and Jason Kovar, both of whom are 31 and from Everett. Yeah, also, good idea trying to rob an ATM while they have cameras on them, don't they? Well, that was a week of Linux news. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all later.